Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We start our session today with Ummu Kita Al-Fatihah. Alhamdulillah, we meet again in our Resensi ILMI, which is Hilman Model IT, which is a program to discuss about issues and also great books that is written by scholars, either Muslim or non-Muslim. This is opportunity, especially for young scholars and those who is in the education and intellectuals arena, to talk about books that what they read and they discuss among peers. We made it live. We constantly made it like. Before this, we made it every Friday, but it's become 1 month already stopped because of the a lot of us having a lot of things. But now we continue again.
Dia akan jadi berat. Dia akan jadi berat sedikit daripada air lah.
Okay, but never mind. Today, alhamdulillah. Last Saturday, we have talked with Azhari. We invited Azhari to talk about Islamization of knowledge by Ismail Faruqi. Now, before that, we also have Ada talking about Islam and secularism, right? Two times he talked about 2 parts. Right now, today Hilman is interested to talk about Islam Covenant Fulfilled, which is the latest book by Professor Naquib Al-Attas. This book has is in discussion. Is currently still in discussion. Even tomorrow there will be a lecture. Dan Abang Syed kena tutup. Leave. Okay. This book is I think. I discussed with Hilman. He said that it's related to his previous book, which is on justice and the nature of man. And I think we need to discuss this book. I'm not sure how we can discuss it, how Hilman will discuss it, because it's a lot. Yeah, do you think you should have 2 or 3 parts? Probably. Yeah. Maybe today is the introduction. Maybe because I don't know how many of us has read it. Alhamdulillah, I had read it, but even then, I think I still need to discuss about the book and so that I really understand, so that to avoid my misunderstanding. So that without further ado, I invited Hilman. There's a lot of yeah. I think I invited you to discuss to start your discussion. Inshallah.
Bismillah. Thank you very much, Professor Azman, my respected Professor Fauzan, Professor Zia, Professor Ali, Shahab, Ibrahim, Scott, and those attended online. This is a good opportunity to reform the way we associate ourselves, because once the poster is being circulated for the topic today, received some messages saying, "Wow, a triple IT person discussing Al-Attas book." This is so that I think we need we of course we understood sometimes we associate ourselves with our guru, right? In the madrasa there is Al-Attas madrasa, there's Faruqi's madrasa, but we should not inherit the original sin per se. So probably some of the clashes and conflict.
Can verify the party never banned any book and never is associate or disassociate. And in fact, Naquib Al-Attas is one of our contributors in Islamization.
It's a great, brilliant one of our intellectual luminaries in this contemporary Islamic thought.
We can agree or disagree, but we still have appreciate.
Dia kata tak sini.
Yeah, sorry.
We need mic then.
No, it's okay.
Pasal it's captured from the.
Okay, so but our approach is to read any magnum opuses with a critical mind, so that we don't succumb to taqdis turath or sacralization of tradition, regardless of whichever madrasah we are in or whatever madhab we are attached to. So, and as to give due credit to this magnificent book, one of the interesting ways of reading Al-Attas is that you can read his work through the other works. You can read Islam, the Covenants Fulfilled, and then you can go into On Justice and the Nature of Man and flip to the chapters that are talking about the same topics, and you can read it seamlessly. There's a continuation and consistency in his ideas, and that's probably one of the interesting things. Some would say Islam, the Covenants Fulfilled is a sharah of a chapter in Prolegomena to the Metaphysics of Islam, which is a chapter on the nature of man and the psychology of the human soul. Because in this chapter, he talks about what is the real nature of human being as per explained in the tradition and in the revelation. And in this work, the latest work, which he launched in July, and he's scheduled to deliver a lecture tomorrow night, he expounded more. And you can find also similarities and consistency of idea in On Justice and the Nature of Man. As per Shazwan's comment, I think we may need to separate this into two parts. In fact, based on my notes, I think I couldn't cover every ideas. When we say book discussion, means we evaluate the idea, we explain, and we also think with a critical mind of whether the idea is strong and solid and convincing, or is there any other opinions, or you can say criticism on that idea. And so by using this approach, I try to read Islam, the Covenants Fulfilled objectively, and find that on the outside it's a very deep, it's a book which is written with a very deep contemplation on the nature of man, and to understand the history of Adam and his progeny. Of course, he did touch about evolution, the theory of evolution, and the origin of this universe, as well as the title itself, the Covenants. So we will start by saying about man is constituted of at least 4 elements: the ruh, the soul, the qalb, the heart, the aql, which is the intellect, and the nafs, the self. And for each of these 4 elements, according to Al-Attas, and in which he continue from Al-Ghazali, which also say the same thing in his Ihya. Each of these 4 elements have 2 aspects: the physical aspects and the spiritual aspects. When you say heart or the qalb, physically you will refer to the organ which pumps your blood, but we also know that there is a spiritual heart, the seat of your ethical consideration, and also the seat of values. When you say about intellect, people usually associate it with the brain. You can, using a Freudian framework, you can analyze the activities of our thinking using what's the Freud's psychoanalysis. and also experimentation. But there is also the spiritual aspect of our intellect, which is akal, which is the place where, according to the verses in the Quran, you receive the wahy. And there is also ruh, or the soul, and nafs, the self or the individual person. Ruh is considered as the physically is the generator of biological life, while in spiritual aspect it's the one that gives you several aspects of life. For example, you have the vegetation soul, which its role is for you to grow, and when you have tear, or when you are hurt in your skin, then the skin will excrete some chemicals and it will cover, like, until it becomes scar. So that is the vegetation soul. And then you have the animal soul, where you have this ability to move around and to mobilize, and also the rational soul, or an-nafsun natiqah, which has been the primary concern in this book. And his thesis is man is a special creation. And when he says this, it means man does not belong to anthropological classification of humanoids or anthropoids. We are all aware of a book written by Yuval Noah Harari, The Sapiens. Homo Deus, the popular one, Sapiens, where he talks about the theory of evolution. Man is a product of thousands of process of evolution, from apes until Homo neanderthalis, and then it springs into several genuses. And 70,000 years ago, there is a cognitive revolution, which according to him happens because of a random genetic mutation, which eventually renders man with the ability to think and build civilization. This is Homo sapiens, of which man is considered as part of animal kingdom of the genus Sapiens. Al-Attas argues that, well, based on the Islamic scripture and Islamic tradition, man is not part of the animal kingdom. Of the three kingdoms which are known to us, the kingdom of minerals, which consists of stones, all the minerals, and then the kingdom of vegetables, and then the kingdom of animals. According to Al-Attas, man does not belong to any of these three kingdoms. In fact, man is a kingdom of its own, of which he proposed as the kingdom of man, the special creation, because Adam, according to his analysis based on the Quranic scripture, is a creation which does not have father and mother, which does not have parents, which means he's not part of the evolutionary chain. When we say Adam is a special creation, means that he is a new and also special in the sense that he was created by God himself from clay and breathed with a soul of the Spirit of God, of which he considered as an-nafsun natiqah. And when this soul is infused into the clay, and when he's making Adam as a bashar, and with the soul becomes insan, this is for him why Adam is regarded as a special creation. The term ansha'a in surah number 23 verse 14, when God says he breathed into Adam something of his spirit, and this is the point in the history where the spiritual aspect and the physical aspect merge, and somehow the soul is corrupted because it enters into the body, and with that we forgot one of the important events in our history, which is the covenant with God, according to Al-Attas. So man, now that is Adam alayhi salam. So man now is what he considered as nafsan, the two souls. But he emphasized that we are not constituted of two compositions. Man is not soul and body, but rather one self, and the two elements are actually one element. When he comes with the analogy of the saturated sponge, when you see sponge is saturated with water, he said this is the analogy of a human being, because you don't say it's a two different thing, but you say the water and the sponge is one. So with this analogy, he's explaining that man is two souls, but a single entity with two aspects, spiritual and physical, the nafsul natiqa and also nafsul hayawaniyah. But when we are judging man, we are judging him by his soul. The soul man is the real man and the real agent of moral acts and behavior. When the revelation is revealed to the prophet, it is revealed to the soul, not the physical body. And from the soul of human being, man can decide to do or not to do. And therefore, the moral obligation falls upon the insaniyah aspect of a human being, not his bashariyah. So Al-Attas uses it, I think this is quite of his ingenuity, because he's saying that because of this nafsan, the two souls, therefore, when during the day of judgment, when there is a resurrection of bodies, we know Ibn Sina in his Ashifa, his Al-Najat, and even Al-Isharat wa Tanbihat, he denies physical resurrection. He says the resurrection of the day of judgment is a spiritual one, because according to his philosophical framework, it is impossible to resurrect bodily the bodies of human being exactly like the same, due to the law of changes, which is Aristotelian in nature. But according to Al-Attas, God will resurrect man bodily, just the same like when he exists in this world, because the bodies will testify to the souls what has been done in this world. Because if you ask the soul will deny. The soul is able to lie. But the body, since it does not has ikhtiyar or the free will to act, the one that has free will to act is the soul. Therefore, the body will testify whatever is being done in the day of judgment. And therefore, it is the insaniya aspect of human being which will be judged and which will be punished and rewarded. Okay, I know Prof. Zia has a lot of questions and comments, but allow me to go first into evolution theory. Now, that is basically the nature of human being, according to Al-Attas, based on interreading of several of his works. Now he talk about Adam. Now he's coming to the progeny of Adam, which is the humankind. He said there is a confusion among modern commentators, modernist commentators, because there is a claim that Adam is not a proper noun, but a general name to designate humankind or human species.
So there is no Adam, no single Adam.
Yeah, there is a opinion saying that the Adam mentioned in the Quran or even in the Bible is referring to humankind. It's a symbolism, it's a metaphor. So according to Al-Attas, this is problematic because number one, he said this will complicate the initial point of the beginning of humankind. Okay. So he said if there is no Adam as the first or Abul Bashar, the father of mankind, therefore the beginning of human being becomes vague. Now probably you want to ask if the beginning of human being is vague, then what is the issue with that? So Al-Attas claim Adam is a proper name. He's an individual person and created to be a Khalifa. And there is verses in the Quran where Khalifa or vicegerent is mentioned in a singular noun, therefore referring to one person. And also, I think probably one of the strongest argument is from verse where God says He created humankind from a single soul, min nafsi wahida. And therefore, when you are referring to single soul, there has to be one individual person. And regarding the opinion that saying Adam is referring to humankind, Al-Attas said, when Adam is used to refer to humankind, which somehow is referred to in the Quran, that is because mankind is the posterity of the original individual person by that name, which means when referring to humankind, because humankind is originated from Adam. Therefore, the word Adam referring to the humankind is actually referring to the original father of them. And therefore, based on Surah Al-Hijr, verse 28 to 29, where the process of creation of Adam is mentioned in a pretty much detailed process. According to Al-Attas, it indicates the time and a continuous process, continuous in a short period. And it also indicates the completion of it. And the completion is, according to him, with the breathing of something of God's Spirit into Adam. The continuance here is to imply that humankind does not evolve across ages or across thousands of years, because of course he doesn't mention okay how long Adam was created, but it is created in a continuous process. He fashioned it from clay until it becomes a human being, and then breathe into Adam with something of his spirit, and hence comes the insaniya aspect of Adam, and therefore taught with knowledge, alama Adam al-asma kullaha, of the world, and also with that given the free will to decide. Of course, Adam also enters into this covenant, which we will go after this, the covenant with God, because Adam is also part of human being. Therefore, now this covenant or mithaq or perjanjian is between humankind and God as a contract before they enter this world. So God says, Alastu bi rabbikum, am I not your Lord? So Al-Attas said, when God says Alastu birabbikum, in Arabic Alastu means is a question with negation. Am I not your Lord? He does not say, am I your Lord? He said, am I not your Lord? And the answer should be Bala, which means is an answer negating or annulling the negation. So Bala literally means on the contrary, yes, you are our Lord. So that is the covenant, which means humankind has already testified the lordship of the God. But according to Al-Attas, he does not know in detail about this particular God, especially knowledge of his attributes and even his name. Does not know whether this is Allah or does not. He is not aware of that. This knowledge is only completed once he enters into this world, where he's taught and given knowledge through the prophets. And وَأَشْهَدُهُمْ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ means they testify. Ala here means for and against themselves, which means when they testify that God is their Lord, and this testament can be an argument against them should they betray the covenant. And God knows that some would betray it due to two reasons mentioned in the Quran. One is unawareness of the covenant, is because ghafilin, he becomes heedlessness. The heedlessness of human being when he enters this world, and as we said previously, the soul is corrupted when it enters the body. So some part of the, you can say, memory is missing, and therefore forgetfulness becomes the essential aspect of human being. Insan, according to Ibn Abbas, means forgetfulness, nisyan. Man is doomed to forgetfulness. And secondly, he would betray because of ancestors. The Quran says, when Allah says, why don't you follow this path? They say it's because we are following the path of our ancestors. Therefore, why should we be blamed? Because we are following the tradition. So these are the two reasons. God knows that we will betray, and he gives the reason. And in spite of what God says, we still, probably not us, but some of humankind still remain oblivious of the covenants. And therefore, Al-Attas said, this covenant is also a proof of what Abu Hanifah is one of the great four imams says, that truth can still be achieved even when a prophet is not sent to a community, because mankind is instilled with intellect and the experience having accepting or committed to the covenant with God, and therefore what he just needs is to reflect within himself and achieve the truth. That is why there is also verses in the Quran saying that God will not punish community if a prophet is not sent to them, because they do not know of the form of the religion or the deen. They might be aware in their hearts and minds about the oneness of the Creator, but in terms of the form of the deen, morality probably can be achieved through reason, what can't say. But the form of the religion in terms of rituals, that has to be through revelation. If you read popular novel 14th century by Ibn Tufayl, Hayy ibn Yaqzan, okay, there is one of the earliest translation is in 16th century and translated by a British philosopher. But he's also attached to John Locke, Edward Pocock, if I'm not mistaken. So in this novel, Hai Ibn Yaqzan is a story about a person who grew up on himself, and he was taken care of by a gazelle. And eventually, after the gazelle passed away, this boy grows up to be some sort of a Tarzan story. Okay, so he grows up in the jungle, mixing up with the animals, and until one fine day, a ship carrying dozens of sailors crash into the island. And so that is the first encounter of Hai with a human being. He said, well, I do not know there exists a human being like myself. And so they exchanged a lot of ideas, but eventually it is concluded that Hai can achieve whatever is being believed and adhered to by those who comes from another island, despite him being brought up without prophet and without a community and without any tradition. So the thesis of this story is that man can attain at some truth, you say universal truth, despite not having a revelation. Okay. Okay, so that is among what is being discussed by Al-Attas. Now, so that's the first covenant, which is the covenant with God, and then there is also the covenant of the prophets, Mithaq and Nabiyyin, which according to him, and he's deriving it from the Quranic verse, when the prophet, before the prophet accept the mission to spread the word of Tawheed, they were given the chance to commit to a covenant, which is to affirm that there will be a final prophet which will confirm whatever is being brought by them. Say, for example, Moses, okay, the Old Testament or the Torah. So Moses, should Prophet Muhammad comes to him at his time, he will commit his allegiance to the final prophet. And Prophet Muhammad, the covenant with the other prophets is that he will affirm whatever being taught by the previous prophets. So the previous prophet, essentially the message is the same. They are calling for the worship of one God, and that is what Prophet Muhammad is doing also. So, and it's mentioned in the Quran many times that I come with the affirmation of what is being taught in the Torah and the Bible. Musaddiqan lima baina yadayhi min at-Taurah wa Injil, what is being conveyed by previous prophets. So this is the covenants of the prophets, and therefore Al-Attas also discuss about the differences between Millah, Deen, and Islam, and he has a strong remark on perennialism, which is the belief in many ways converging into one God or one universal truth. Hussein Nasr probably termed it as transcendental unity of religion. But of course, he is very much against that, and he even make allusion to some of the contemporary works delving into perennialism. Even Friedrich Schwann, the philosopher. And by this, he's saying that Islam as a proper deen only comes with the advent of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as the final prophet. And before that, all the prophets, they submit themselves to God, but they have different forms of religion. That's why you cannot find, or probably at least until now, we cannot find the mihrab or the place for imam in the previous civilizations. Probably because they pray not the same way as what Prophet Muhammad teach. Probably they have their own rituals. So these different forms of religion by different prophets is according to his nation. Because Prophet Moses is sent to his nation, Bani Israel. Same goes to David, same goes to Solomon, same goes to Jesus. But Muhammad is sent to all humankind. And therefore the ibadah, the form of deen brought in Islam by Prophet Muhammad should suit the whole community across races and religion and across ages. And so with that, before coming to some additional comments, I think we can open to discussion.
Thank you very much, Man, for your introduction to the book. I think is quite it's still a lot. There's a lot of things that you will still not touch. But the moment I think maybe I can open to discussion or any comments or any anything that any even question if you think that you didn't understand what Hilman said.
But what is your own criticism?
My own criticism, not the general idea, but particular, probably not a criticism, but questions or some evaluation. Of course, when we are talking about this ilmul ghaib, this unseen world, well, methodologically, we can only say about something if we have the dalil, or if you find it in the Quran or Sunnah. Other than that, you are speculating, because it's the unseen world. Some of the things mentioned in terms of the process from Adam until, from the origin of the universe until the creation of humankind, this you can say this field of study is considered as, is termed as cosmogony, which is the origin of the universe. There are many ijtihad to this. Ibn Arabi has his own ijtihad.
What is your opinion?
I, as a student of knowledge, I can only naqal from some of the scholars.
No, you can't do nakal because you have your own brain.
Huh?
You have your own brain. Yeah, you engage that and use that. And so what is your opinion? Say, for example, the rule that God, what was it that God sent a single rule? Therefore, the argument is
Ruh?
that, yeah,
Oh, okay.
so therefore, argument is that Adam must be a single individual.
Yeah.
Imagine this is a rule. Right? I can send a message to all of you instantly. God has the power to send one rule to as many people he wants.
Right.
So the argument is false. Why don't you say the argument is false?
No, or ruh, right?
So we're talking about, you know what we're talking about. Soul.
Okay, okay.
The same thing. So the argument is blatantly false, right? And the think about the Islamic tradition, in Islamic tradition, we have only three vegetables there. Yeah, but that tradition is based on the 11th, 12th century context of knowledge.
Correct.
You can't use that in contemporary times and say, therefore, because Islamic tradition only had these three things, therefore there cannot be a fourth thing. Which is a bit like, since there were no computers during the Islamic classical period of Islamic history, therefore we should not talk about computers. They are irrelevant. Again, the argument is blatantly false. So why did you not?
Okay.
What is stopping you from engaging with all that and saying there's some very serious problem with it?
Yeah. Okay. Now the first one is because yes, logically he can breathe to how many entities that he wants. He is God, of course. But there's this. Okay, let's not go to that first. First, because there is a verse saying that every humankind is created from a single entity, min nafsi wahida, and that is Al-Attas quoted that and saying that now, if any Muslim saying that Adam referring to a general humankind, then how do you reconcile this with this verse?
There is no contradiction.
Nafsu wahida. You are created. God created humankind from one single entity.
Yeah.
And God create. So God created humankind from a single entity.
Yes. So the single entity can be in all of them. It doesn't have to be just one person.
If I,
Yeah. You see, the single message I send is in all of it.
yeah, but it started with a single phone.
Yeah, single entity.
Yeah.
So it sends a single entity. All of it.
I think it might be relevant to consider the ayah when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addressed the entire humanity. Am I not your God?
Yeah.
Alastu bi rabbikum.
Yeah.
And the answer was qalu bala shahidna.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Past tense is everyone testified.
Yeah.
Testified. So most probably we are talking about this one single entity, but all of us testified the unity of Allah.
Yeah.
No?
That's the.
But is Adam not just is the Adam first man or also the prophet?
Yeah, it's the.
So if he's a prophet,
Okay.
he needs a follower. He can't be a prophet without having a follower.
His family, his close next to kin.
Who are they?
Eve, sons, the children.
But I think prophet that there needs to be.
Oh, you mean you mean
come on.
there has to be a community?
Come on. Yeah, precisely. Right. So Adam is not necessarily the first person. He's the first prophet. Therefore, and I mean, why can't you? I mean, the instance between the creation and the knowledge. Why can't be an evolutionary process? Why it can be an instant, what has been and it is,
Yeah.
and it can be an evolution.
Yeah,
Because
that's
time for us-
evolution in a
time for
very
us-
broad term.
Yeah, time
You're
for
not
us.
referring to Darwin for
Yeah, I know.
thousands
Yeah.
of years.
Yeah. Well, why not? Why can't be thousands of years?
Using Arabic.
No. Just using Arabic terms doesn't make it right or correct. Just because can't-
every word is being put with precise meaning. So the fa, the wa,
Yeah,
these are all terms that designate a very quick process. It's not hatta. It means so
But
after this and then probably
what is a quick process? Quick process of 70,000 years, for example, I would just say. Very quick compared to the time and the billions of years by the time you actually get to the evolution. So, I mean, this interpretation can be done in different ways.
yeah. Okay.
But I want to hear your criticism. What is your criticism? Not mine.
You
I'm right.
criticize.
Okay.
What is your criticism?
Let me criticize by using Al-Ghazali's framework.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, you can use that. But
Faisal al-Tafriqah, one of his popular works, Al-Ghazali Abu Hamid, in this work is a theological or kalam book. So he outlines several principles and rules for something to be regarded as in line with the faith. I mean, there are 5 or 6 of them, but now, first of all, okay, at least we can deduce there are 4 schools of thought in the Adam affairs. Number 1 is creationism. This is the popular one, which means everything is created by God, even the animals. Okay. So everything is created instantly. So God created giraffe, zebras, monkeys, and human being. And then there is you can say complete evolution or total evolution, which means everything is subjected to the theory of evolution, okay, including humankind. It's not an exception. And then you have the third school is you can say the human exception, which means everything is subjected to evolution except human beings. And by human beings, we are referring to all human beings as a species. And then the fourth school is the Adamic exceptionalism, which means Adam is the only exception, but probably there are other human beings which is subjected to evolution, i.e. Adam cohabit with other Homo sapiens. But Adam is the only exception. He's created directly from clay and has the spiritual aspect. And from him we descended. So these 4 schools, using Al-Ghazali's Me'yar or Al-Ghazali's principles, you can say, okay, does believing in creationism problematic? So, okay, according to Islam, it's not. Okay, you're saying that God created everything, and you are denying evolution. Okay, fine. Does belief in absolute evolution is problematic? It will be problematic if you believe that Adam is a single entity, but yet you still believe in absolute evolution. So there is a contradictory. Okay. And if you believe Adam and Eve as a special creation, because Eve is also a singular entity. Does believing in human exceptionalism is a problem in Islam? No, it's not.
What do you mean?
Most-
Exceptionalism?
It means the world,
Uniqueness, yeah, we are special.
the animals all undergone evolution except human beings. Okay, so it's not an issue. I think most of the scholars dispute about Adam, but animals, they say, okay, animals evolve. You say that in turtles in Galapagos Island, even here, so they evolve. Even the world, even according to Al-Attas, he mentioned the word evolution several times to denoting it to the earth and animals. So, but Adamic exceptionalism, which means Adam is the only exception as a human being, but probably there is also a community of other human beings which is not a special creation, and they are a product of evolution. This is probably you are alluding to. If he is a prophet, then to whom will he deliver the message? Okay. According to Al-Ghazali's principle, the schools number 1, number 2, number 3 is not a problem. So long that you believe in these 3 schools, your iman should not be affected, because this does not have creedal implication. But if you believe in total evolution, including human being and Adam, then probably it will contradict to the at least the zahir or the apparent or the visible understanding of the verses. Okay. Now, so answering to your question, there could also be a world where Adam as a special creation cohabit with other Homo sapiens, and it is not a problem in our faith.
Which is, you mean that maybe there is, because there is another human there, that Adam probably sent from heaven to earth to also preach about God. to
That's
group of men.
That's
Could be.
one of the point. But we also need to refer to Surah Al-Baqarah when God announced that He wants to create Adam, and the angels asking, why do you want to create such a person who will cause menace and destruction on the earth? As if implying that there has already been human beings.
They know something.
Sorry?
They know something.
That they know something. They witness something, that they kill each other, and therefore why Allah wants to create another like this, and by creating means especially creating it. So that verse does not contradict with this theory, and of course, coming back to the caveat just now, these are alamul ghaib. This has happened many thousand years ago. There could be many possibilities, but these are among the three major schools that are being adhered to by most scholars in Islam delving into this issue.
And
The-
what is your criticism? We still haven't got to your criticism. Even like Ghazali is 12th century. Okay, so things have changed hell of a lot. So
Yeah, but
yeah,
for
hell of a lot, like 800 years.
aqidah, fiqh, and akhlaq. So aqidah and akhlaq, or creed and ethics, they don't really change much across ages. But the Sharia, yes, they do. So Ghazali's, even though 12th century, this is a matter of principles of aqidah, so it doesn't change much.
These are changes as well, but anyway, I want to know what is your criticism. Still, we haven't got to your criticism. What is your critique of the book? Ghazali's perspective, describe what the content of the book is. It's a very descriptive thing, but there's no critical engagement with the book. What is your own critique of the book? And why do you fear stating that critique? Whatever it is.
It's not sometimes because our initial sometimes our initial commentary is probably due to lack of knowledge, or rather than outrightly saying that this is my criticism, then probably I would say that probably I have some questions in some of these things, and the questions is
Being answered.
I slip in between the presentation. So, for example, this question about the cosmogony, we are talking about this process from the beginning of the universe until the humankind. This is a matter of sam'iyat and also alamul ghaib. Nobody is there to witness the creation of humankind. The only thing that we depended on is whatever stated in the scripture and the prophet, and in the tradition. So, for example, so probably my criticism would be, we cannot say with certainty that this is the process, and we cannot claim that.
Please say, Al-Attas saying this.
Because he also narrated from previous scholars. So even though
there are
Arabic,
no references. To whom there are no references.
But if you refer to this one, there are many footnotes, but this one is a discourse. So
Because he purposely did not
Discourse doesn't mean reference. What is it? This is discourse, therefore it is no reference to the isn't it?
but to be fair,
But there's a
previously there's a
there's a
lot of footnotes.
consistency.
Every page is a lot of footnotes. Yeah.
There's a consistency across all his work,
Yeah. Yeah.
because he's more or less saying the same thing. And it all goes back to two of his probably the most scholarly works, the mysticism of Hamza Missouri and the mysticism of Nereri, and where most of the stuff is taken.
Raniri.
Where most of the stuff is taken. In that sense. And because he's saying the same thing, you find the consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah. If he was writing completely different books, and that would be but he's basically saying the same thing. You pick out from there and you pick out passages.
Yeah. In fact, we can find some of the passages being. How about your?
Criticism.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike is in the current report. I'm more interested in it. Because I see it's basically since you're saying this is all the unseen,
Yeah.
you can say anything. You can say anything. And if he's basing his thing on the Quranic interpretation, each verse of the Quran can be interpreted
Correct.
in numerous ways. No matter how close an attention you give to the word. So it's just a specific perspective that he has developed over the last 50, 60 years of his life, based on the early work he did on the South Asian mystics. That's all. There's nothing new there.
Yeah. I mean, so when we say cosmogonical ijtihad, it's because
You can't
there
have
are
ijtihad, but it's by definition it's the unseen. So how do
Yeah.
you ijtihad on the unseen?
based on whatever resources that we have,
Yeah.
on the scriptures,
Yeah.
the sayings of the prophet, and the tradition. Tradition also includes some of the filtered Israelites of in the Bible and Torah. Just find consistency. Like Tafsir Ibn Kathir has many Israeliyat in there.
Banyak.
Yeah.
In relation to that, would you consider Syed Naquib this book, especially these two books, as some sort of tafsir of specific ayat, specific verse?
There's a new translation of the Quran by Bruce Lawrence and a Pakistani poet called Naquib. It's just called the Quran, a verse translation.
Verse.
Verse, you know, from verse by verse.
Oh, verse.
Poetic, it's a poetic translation.
Oh, I see.
So, for example, Al-Attas, this translates, praise be to God, the Lord of the worlds. It translates, praise be to God, Lord of the universe. Right? Now, that's the first word translation. See how different it now looks. But of course, the word translated as word can be translated as universe in contemporary understanding. Just that line, then suddenly, or Suratasa, they say consider time. It's not the same thing in passage of time. Consider time, right? Again, it's a very close translation, but by saying consider time, you're focusing on a different thing, right? So the language is very important, but the translations are archaic, and he still uses mankind. Yeah, when these guys are talking about humanity. Now, there's no humanity includes women as well, and lots of other things in between.
Oh, of course.
But
of course, he said it's
all very
both
nice,
genders.
very nice, but it's all very archaic.
Yeah.
If you are into some sort of deep mysticism, I suppose this thing works for you. But it didn't work for Ibn Tufayl, because Hay actually comes out of mud as a slime in the book. He is made of mud, right? And he uses reason before the ship arrives. The ship arrives towards the end when he actually rejects the people. He doesn't bugger off, right at the end, because he had reached that unity, the understanding of unity of God through reason. By building the house, by dissecting the gazelle, by learning, by looking at the sky, he uses reason throughout to reach a certain understanding that this world it didn't come out, there's a purpose in life, and the world, has a creator in a sense.
So we are going into
The
the
interesting point is the people who come to shipwreck are mystics. Go back and look at the book. And he rejects their notion.
I think they are mostly Fikri
Fikri, Fikri,
because they are focusing on the
I
rituals.
also read, I also read a long time
Yeah,
ago,
yeah.
but there is,
Because those who come with the ship, they are focusing on the rituals.
Yeah.
So he said, okay. So the discipline of tafsir, there are many schools. One of them, like you mentioned, is the tafsir Ishari, is the sophistic tafsir, which tries to understand the Quran, the inner meaning of the verses.
Which is this book?
Huh?
Is it considered that category?
Sabar dulu. Okay. So, and there are tafsir bil-ra'i, or the rational interpretation, and many others. And now even there is a tafsir ILMI, the scientific interpretation, scientific exegesis, trying to explore any scientific notions in the Quran. Each of these madrasah has its own methodology and goal. So Ibn Arabi, he interprets Quran and tries to find the inner meaning, the butun, the intrinsic meaning of the verses. And Al-Attas somehow inherit that in his understanding of Islam and the history of humankind, and therefore
he should have been called Professor Ibn Arabi rather than Professor Al-Ghazali. The first and the last Professor Al-Ghazali is called Professor Ibn Arabi. Is that what you say?
no. Al-Ghazali is one of the most widely studied Muslim philosophers besides Ibn Sina. So Al-Attas is one of them, and there are many others because of his numerous works. Now, with regards to this tafsir, and interestingly enough, if you read Futuhat Makkiyah, pretty sure you've read it, and even no, Ibn Arabi, there's one more work which is Fususul Hikam. Okay, so these are Ibn Arabi's work that when you try to read it, you will find Islam in a whole different way. It's not as if it's not the same like when you were taught at schools, right? In the primary schools, because they are trying to unearth the inner meaning. Every figures in the Quran, every instances, every event has a spiritual significance. So, for example, a person that you not denigrate, but you consider as anti-model. So, for example, in the Quran is the Pharaoh, or even Abu Lahab, the uncle of the Prophet, who you consider to be anti-model because of their injustice, because they're being oppressor. But Ibn Arabi can interpret it in other way around, until it becomes clear to you that actually this man is appointed by God to teach you a lesson. But using, besides ilham and dreams, also using the terminology of the Quran. But that probably not the most approach that he used. Most are being used through ilham. The Sheikh said this is my understanding of this verse. So basically, and then sometimes this ilham comes out of nowhere. Of course, there are disagreement with regards to using
This is the arrival of meaning. In the heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
My heart.
The wusul, yes. Yeah, yeah. So of course there are these disagreements because okay, now this meaning comes to me that I understand it differently from you. That's why differences occurred in the tradition of tafsir, and for the work that we are discussing today is mostly follow on the spiritual interpretation and understanding. Okay.
Is there any, do you think that the specific verses that quoted by Naquib, especially the one about, you didn't even realize that the three stages, the three stages. I think maybe later, part 2 or part 3. Do you think the verse about Attas said about this is created, this different with this being being, the three stages is related to, the nutfah, and there is this, that's why Al-Quran said about first the uh, about sperm, and then about the
Fetus.
fetus, and then about the what is it before?
Lama, blood.
Yes,
Blood.
spotted blood.
So
Is that is the people who one of the first, maybe that really focus on that ayah, because a lot of other scholars talk about scientific aspect of that, but he talked about how this is also how the human soul is created. Human soul is how us is created. It's not just about physical, human physical, how the babies is created inside the womb of the woman, but this is also how the people is, the human is, man is created.
after the covenants between humankind and God, this is before humankind enters this world, before there even has any externalities. These entities is regarded by Al-Attas, Ibn Arabi, and the likes as part of A'yanus Sabitah, or the immutable entities, which are within God's knowledge and before even the universe is created. And when they affirm that they accept this covenant, and they themselves at that time is as nafsun natiqah, or the rational soul, which is then, once they merge with the body in the womb, right? So they become like what you said, there's this process, baby process from fetus, what is it? Before fetus, there is a
Embryo. Yeah.
Embryo. And then embryo, and then fetus, and then becomes a baby. The nutfah, yeah, correct. So once the soul enters the body, it signifies that man has the insaniya and the bashariyah aspect. The insaniya is the rational soul, and the bashariyah aspect is the nafsul haywaniyah, or the vital soul, and the biological functions of a human being. And after that, when the soul left the body and returns to the Lord after the death, and it will be returned to the body during the day of judgment. So I think this is the stages that you are. Yeah.
This question might be controversial. Especially we talk about
So we have the right person to answer.
about abortion, because using this verses, some scholars
Fake question.
said that abortion is allowed if they before this. I think before how many weeks I don't remember. And for Christian, they didn't allow abortion any. But Islam is still allowed except before this week.
Yeah.
And I think this is but the thing is, that's why I asked for the question, because usually scholars, modern scholars talk about it in terms of scientific, about physical, about medical. But Al-Attas used this verse as sort of, his main point. It's not just about, this verse is not just about how the baby is created, how human is created physically, but also how human created, we can say spiritually, and how maybe when I think we can also discuss about it more when we rush to that
Yeah.
point later.
It's a big question just to touch about a bit. When embryo is conceived in the woman's womb, there has been several opinions on that. But one of the most popular is after 40 days, because there is a hadith, right? 40 days, the stages, and there is a time when the baby has soul. Okay, so that is when it is forbidden for you to abort the baby. But before that, it is allowed. And even in Iran, the Ayatollah issue fatwa before these days, I'm not sure it's 80 or 120 days. Then you can do any experiments with the embryo because there is no soul in the baby yet. So as to propel scientific exploration of the. Okay, so saying that you mentioned about everything.
How Islam is allowing abortion because
After that,
and I think that but my question, my comment, because I think that more or less that Al-Attas see this verses more than that, not just about trying to derive from it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of
Yeah,
scholars using rightly so, using hadith and Quran just for deriving fiqh, but what Al-Attas did is not just about fiqh, about daily life, but it's about our how we see the world, what is human itself, what is the what it means to become human itself. I think that's I think very interesting.
You believe in the seen and the unseen. Just because you believe in the unseen does not mean it becomes the seen.
That's because
My definition must always within the unseen. That's why we believe it. But the seen can be examined.
Right.
And we can learn from the seen. What we see in the universe. All that is nice, but at the end of the day, you bloody well roll your arms and do some real science. This is not going to take you very far, except perhaps some sort of deep subjectivity or deep, turn you into opium addicts of some kind, spiritual opium addicts. Apart from that, this is not going to solve your problems. Solve the problem, you roll your sleeves, get into the labs, do scientific theory, look at the world, look at this, hundreds of 700 verses of Quran tell you to do that. But when they talk about the unseen, all this, you believe in the seen and the unseen. You believe it, that's it. But we cannot know it. So all this that you mentioned the Ghazali, you mentioned Ibn Sina,
no, mentioned Iqbal.
You could have mentioned Iqbal, but you never mentioned so many books written against speculative theology like this one in Muslim history.
Okay, now I'm mentioning now.
You mentioned at least a couple that say that this sort of thing should not be engaged in.
The reconstruction of religious thought in Islam. Muhammad Iqbal.
Earlier on.
Muhammad Iqbal.
Earlier on, I was in Ibrahim Kamal's book, Censor Against the Speculative Theology, and the others as well.
Yeah.
Oh, Iqbal criticized this kind of thing.
He himself was a mystic.
Yeah.
Of some sort. I mean, he had a social orientation.
He's more of a Rumi, probably.
Rumi variety,
But his,
but this sort of thing is very easy to use to dupe people and make them your followers at the end of the day. Because you are defining everything and giving us certainty about the unseen.
Giving certainty for the unseen. I think
Just, you're giving them certain amount of certainty about the unseen, which you could never have.
Yeah. should have a discourse, not not a,
But the thing there is another group said that we cannot discuss even the unseen. So what?
No, we can discuss it. There's no element of certainty in it, but explore it. It doesn't take us very far. Won't take us very far. It would be a speculative discussion, as this has been. But it's not a matter of evidence. As you said yourself, there's nothing that can actually provide evidence. Right versus society.
but one of the significant lessons from what Azman was mentioning about the nature of human being and how a more spiritual understanding of it might help us to realize where we are now and what are the things that we have committed that we should stop. I'm intrigued by one of the comments he made about the nature of forgetfulness of human beings. It's from, you're from?
Jordan.
From Jordan. So he's saying that insan is derived from the word nisyan, which means to forget. At least that's what Ibn Abbas said, and he's narrating it from it. So once, because he said,
This is where Asa,
sorry?
Asa Balinsan, which is the time, man,
Yeah.
is by nature, they forgive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not forgetful. Is man is in loss.
Lost.
إن الإنسان لفي خسر.
Yeah, in a sense, lost out of memory as well.
Yes.
Lost. It's a complete loss of it.
Yeah.
So there's nothing in that sense. Anyway, carry on.
I mean, at least it revitalized it. Okay. So, because he said once the soul is too engrossed in the bashariyah aspect or the physical body, then you lose several things, and one of them is the memory retention. That's why you forgot the covenant. And I find this interesting because Imam Shafi'i, who used to memorize a lot of hadith, and one day he couldn't recall one of them, and he asked the teacher, and the teacher said, if basically if you are engaged in a sin, then you will lose the knowledge, because knowledge is light and sin is darkness.
Okay, that's like.
Yeah, al-ilmu nurun. Okay, because knowledge is light. And also Descartes, interestingly, it's very spiritual a bit in this sense, because Descartes, following Platonic ideas in some sense, complaining about his physical bodies, the extension, because he says, once I'm too focused on my sense experiences, I become like a child, because I will lose my rational ability and my rational strength, and I will become more like a child, following my lust to eat this and that, and too focusing on the appearance. So in that sense, when we are too engrossed in the physical world, we will lose aspects of our spirituality. But Hubaya, we worry we should not also too engrossed in spirituality that we forget we live in community, we need to give back to the society. Yeah, so that's one of the things that I
Good point.
eventually, alhamdulillah.
Good point to conclude.
Good point to conclude. So because
Okay.
Prof just said conclude, so I think we also can conclude this discussion today, and I
Yeah,
think we,
I would just, my experience was sort of a disappointment. Why these two covenants, right? I mean, there's lots of covenants out there, right? And so coming off of the book before Islam, the covenant fulfilled, he's speaking on being and justice.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, it sets up that you have man this flawed creature, but then justice is all about balance. And so man is supposed to see to balance. But you set that up where the doubt over the creation of man, all the angels are like, these guys are very destructive. They're very disruptive to balance. So the covenant should be, how is man in this world trying to restore balance when humanity itself, or failing to do so? And maybe I'm biased because I'm living in a world on fire right now, but that's what I'm concerned about, right?
Yeah.
So that was my only comment. I was like, oh no, okay, we're going to this is stuff. Why not talk about the real world that is kind of messed up?
I think expecting Al-Attas to talk about current issues. You are not. You just.
No, but he sets it up though. It's set up in that last book. Where
You can't talk about justice without relating it to the content.
Yeah,
What is the point? You know, in that sense. So it's just some, I don't know, metaphysical notion of justice that has no meaning otherwise. In that sense.
And he doesn't. I mean, in that book, he actually says, no, it's balance. It's all about balance. But that's where it's just. You can't just end there. It's like, well, balance. How can we apply that? Is what I would hope comes down.
So to summarize is when to relate to the covenant, right? So when you're committed to the covenant, and when you come to this world and become forgetful or oblivious of the covenant, then comes the prophet to remind you of this. And with the prophets comes the message, universal justice. And well, the message of the prophet is balance. It's not a matter of inculcating your soul only, but to give to the poor and the needy, and to restore justice. And the prophet Muhammad is the best exemplar for everybody, because he set the highest moral value, and with that also encompasses the current affairs in this world.
A good research project would be to compare this with the American Davis knowing one another, where she also talking about Fitra and the covenant, and both the different interpretation of the whole thing and how we relate to real life situation in the moment.
It's translated into Bahasa.
No, I think yes.
I think no, it has been translated.
Well, once upon a time it was, but there's now a new edition out. So maybe a new edition. Yeah.
Oh, there's a new edition out of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I think then Prof. Ozan, that's what you wanted to add. Any comments?
Just enjoy your tea, have some fruits and what?
Prof. Hadramo.
Jamal.
No makan.
Shawarma.
Kebab.
And fruits.
And fruit.
Okay, thank you very much. So we can go today with Dr. Rasul Sarawak.
But you have to believe in it.
Prof. Zia, related to Fatih Makawi.
Fozia, I have said they want to take a photo. Then another wajib.
He still believes in the three kingdoms.
This